Members only club. And let me say this to white people. You don't have to be white. You can be your heritage, just like me. You can give up whiteness. You can put it aside. You can say it's not feeding me, my family, or this country, or my community, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Find your ancestral roots. Find your indigenous roots. My mother is white, Irish, Scottish, and my father's black. Unknown. Because the history of the black side of my family was intentionally taken away. I can't even find birth records. The biggest index of black people knowing their lineage was slave records being released. That's not right. If you have the privilege of knowing where your roots are, stick to that and give up whiteness, please. Please. And let me say this, because someone told me this once and I believe it to my bones. Because my known heritage was taken away from me, I get to embrace every bit of blackness and indigenousness that will have me. What a gift. What a gift. So I don't just have my local village where my folks were stolen from and enslaved to embrace. I have a whole continent of Africa. A beautiful, amazing place. So I want to leave you with this. This is a rare moment of pause in a movement that's going to ask you to act. Do not stop acting. Furthermore, find who beside you has not yet acted and take them under your wing to help them know how to act, how to take action, how to be there. Continue to follow the lead of black, brown, and indigenous people, and I cannot say that enough. It's the only way forward. Keep each other well. Keep each other safe. Ask black and brown people first if they feel safe, and then you'll know. If you want to join what we're building in the South End, it's a community campaign where we're amplifying the most impacted first. We're trying to make sure that the most diverse district in Washington State is on the front lines of every win we're going to have in Olympia, because we need everyone. They're talking about austerity cuts instead of revenue. They're going to be revisiting the budget this fall. Budget and not pay attention. TVW lets you live stream it on any device you have. Do not let what's happening in Olympia be absent from your mind. They are talking about cutting health care and frontline services. Family planning? I work in reproductive justice. I'm the ED of NARAL Pro-Choice Washington. They're talking about cutting frontline family planning services by $2 million. We don't have a penny to spare on it. There is not a black, brown, or indigenous life anywhere here that can go without those funds. Do not let them do it. Do not let them make cuts when we could be raising money that feeds communities. It's here. The wealth is here, and it should be all of ours. And a collective good to spend the way it should be spent so that we can thrive. So continue to pay attention. Continue to take action. Continue to tell others. You can reach me at Kirsten@electkht, which are my initials. I also go by KHT if you want to show me some love that way too, .org. Join what we're doing. Take action. Talk to neighbors. If you can do it here on the streets, do it. If you do it online, do it. Continue to hold the line. Be well, be safe, be loved. Thank you.
Don't go nowhere yet. Hold on, we ain't done. I got it. Hello? Wow, there we go.
All right. Sorry, I had to wipe pizza fingers. Oh, I see a lot of people moving around and leaving. We still got one more speaker here. I know there's going to be something going on afterwards, so there's still going to be lots more people to listen to, which is going to be awesome. Just real quick before I introduce our last person, I am going to announce again that white bodies, just if you look left, look right, look behind you, if you see a black person, not in front of you, give them the chance to move up to the front. Like I said before, we have not always had that opportunity, and this space is for us right now. Also, I keep getting compliments on my shirt. And I don't know if you noticed, but Nadia is wearing kind of the same deal. Does everybody know where I got this from? Yes, Wolf Deluxe. Great friend of mine, artist. He has a mural right over on the corner. Go ahead and take a look, respect it. He has a shop over in the ID, and he's on Instagram. So, that's where I got this from. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Next, I want to introduce somebody. She's an activist, speaker. She lives in Rainier Beach, and she works with the Black youth. She's a foster parent, and she's part of the Black Student Union here at Seattle Central College. I had the chance to see her do a really, really beautiful piece of poetry on 23rd in Jackson last week. And I'm really excited to introduce Sophia Tacola. Done this like 20 times.
Sanitation's key. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? This is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Thank y'all for coming out. Like she said, my name is Sophia Tacola. I go to the school that's like right there. And I live, reside, work, and do all my life in Rainier Beach. Thank you for having me here today. Are there any little black girls in the crowd? Can you raise your hand? Any little black girls? Or teenagers? Little black girls? Or black? You guys, all the young black girls, come on up. Make room. These are our queens. See, I grew up in South King County, and if you know anything about South King County, and it's the one place in all of Washington State that thought, I'm gonna go vote for Trump. So growing up, I did not see this many black faces. I didn't have any black friends, and I grew up in a place where I got detention for wearing my hair like this. So from age 5 or 6 years old, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go straighten my hair so I can be accepted by my school. I can be accepted by my teachers. And then when I got cracked at 6 years old, that's kindergarten, for having my dark melanated skin that was even darker than my little sister's, I was like, oh my goodness, I guess the only thing to do is bleach my skin. I was in kindergarten. How crazy is that? Y'all, we grow up in this place where blackness is not the ideal, as if Adam and Eve wasn't in Africa. That's crazy, y'all. And see, right before COVID, I had something called endometriosis, which basically means I need to have a bunch of surgeries before I have kids. But the crazy thing about having kids, did you know that black women are anywhere from 6 to 8 times more likely to die from having a child than white women? How crazy is that? Or that little black girls are being put in jail in kindergarten for throwing a tantrum. Have you ever seen a little white kid throwing a tantrum and put in jail? Y'all, this is messed up. And I love my black brothers, and I love my black men, but I'm telling you, we are leaving little black girls and little black women and big black something. In fact, I wrote 2 somethings. This one is dedicated to my little black girls because honestly, if y'all didn't know this, when a little black girl comes up to you and compliments your hair, that is the best compliment. I am on cloud 9 all week, all day. It is amazing because that little black girl knows that her blackness is divine. It's a powerful thing when a black woman loves herself. In a country that was built on enslaving, raping, abducting her children, stealing her partner, beating her, and murdering her. To exist and thrive in itself is a miracle, an act by God herself. And did you know one of the best compliments you could ever get is from a little black girl who looks up to you and sees your beauty and wants to grow up to embrace herself in all her natural glory because she saw you when you were just simply living yourself in a world that tries to dehumanize you. The other best compliment comes from a chocolate sister, that queen divine, already in the making, who not only acknowledges your beauty, but your strength in a world to set up to defeat you. And did you know the strongest type of love there is next to God's love is black self-love. Black self-love isn't like any other love. It sticks onto you like beeswax on a curl. Once you tap into it, the world shakes and you grow, growing in a way that you couldn't ever imagine. I say this from experience because even though this world throws hatred and invisibility upon us, we fight to love us. Whole movements and worlds we create through us when there aren't any space for us. And we don't only bring life into this world as black sisters, we sustain it. The very slave master's child sucks on us for nutrition, and all we are asking in See, black self-love is not just an intermission into a pandemic involved to fix the systemic racism plaguing black men and of America, written work of Willie Lynch and them. So I'm telling you, fight back, men and black women. Our love is a fight for loyalty unwashed. We are women on a mission, that black love rendition. We are silent names no more. Black woman at the door. Love over poor, no silence anymore. Now I see a lot of you guys wearing wonderful shirts honoring all of our brothers who were murdered. But I don't see a shirt, not a single shirt, that shows all the black women. Can a single one of you name all the black women? Do you guys realize Me Too movement was started by a black woman? And oh yeah, Black Lives Matter movement started by 3 black women. So why are black women not being acknowledged? I am sick of it. Like, y'all realize you come from us, right? Like, you realize that? Like, the fact that we are the bridge between earth and heaven. Like, the literal bridge between the spirit world and not. That's us. And yet, you ignore us. You ignore us. The fact that we still have black sisters. How many of you can name all of their names? So I'm going to say my next poetry, and I'm going to shout names, and I'm going to say the name. And I want you to say the name like it's never been heard. Like the name their black moms probably cried out because we're not giving them justice, and y'all need to turn it around. Seriously, like, you need to turn it around. Black Lives Matter movement is a powerful thing because of 3 powerful black women who got together and powerful women that continue trying to come together, but we are left out of the conversation again and again in the schools, in the churches, in the movements. I mean, y'all see the pink pussy hats walking around. But like, black women started that, but yet they're left out of the conversation. I mean, come on now. What the heck is gonna change? Y'all need to start saying the names. And not just because I'm saying the names, but because you start to learn the history, open up a book. I dare all of you guys, when you go home today, look up how many black women are getting killed and murdered. Centoria Brown, for starters. Thank God she is still alive and here with us. She acted in self-defense to kill the person who was constantly raping her, and yet she goes to prison for it, try to be put away for life. That's messed up, y'all. Like, that should not happen. So continue to do the research and the history and say the names. We don't talk about black women enough. Oh, we don't talk about black women enough. The leaders in the movement, we don't talk about black women enough. The bridge between heaven and earth, we don't talk about black women enough. The strongest thing is their love, loyalty, and chaz. We don't talk about black women enough. The very backbone to this nation, we don't talk about black women enough. The silence is deafening. We don't talk about black women enough. The ones who birthed this nation, we don't talk about black women enough. Take a look at Centoria Brown. All around, the silence is complicity in a country of white supremacy and fragility. Police brutality towards black girls and women, oh, it's a catastrophe. And we don't talk about black women enough. Breonna Taylor's birthday was a few Fridays ago, and we don't talk about black women enough. She would have been 27 years old that day. That's only 4 years older than me. Are you telling me all I have to look for is being shot in my sleep? We don't talk about black women enough. Breonna Taylor, we don't talk about black women enough. Being killed pregnant and asking police for help in front of her children, Charlena Lyles. Being killed in police custody, Sandra Bland. Being killed because Fender Bender, Malaysia Booker, getting killed because police custody, Lily Polanco, being killed because playing video games with her nephew, Atiana Jefferson, being sick and killed in her bedroom, Deborah Danner, being killed protecting her children, Corin Gaines, being killed defending her home, Megan Hockaday, being killed because you thought I was a male suspect, Daytona Hargrove, being killed standing up against injustices, Marielle Franco, being killed because walking away, Rakaya Boyd, being killed because spot pleaded accident on our little black girl, Ayana Jones, being killed because I'm trans, Mariah Johnson, Brandy Coleman, and I am tired that black women are not being talked about. A few Fridays ago was Breonna Taylor's birthday, and her murderers are walking free. Y'all, they made a law and passed it, and her murderers are walking free. Does that make sense to you? Why isn't everybody talking about it? This is not okay. Police brutality is harming black women too. Our schools, our families, our communities, our girls, our women. Do not forget black women and simply shoot them in your back. This is my guidance to you. Stand up with black women. Speak up with black women. Show up with black women. We have been here all along. This very ground shares our heart song. Breonna Taylor's murder is on the loose. He uses his silence for his noose. Being insurmountable to hold the police accountable. Say all of their names. Black women, we're humans too. Breonna Taylor, say her name. Sandra Bland, say her name. Charlene Lyles, say her name. Malaysia Booker, say her name. Rakaya Boyd, say her name. Riley Polanco, say her name. Atiana Jefferson, say her name. Corinne Gaines, say her name. Say her name. Megan Hockaday, say her name. Tatiana Hargrove, say her name. Marielle Franco, say her name. Rakaya Boyd, say her name. Greta Johnson, say what a day, what a day.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. God is good all the time. Jesus came and made sure it didn't rain today. We're almost over. I'm going to see if we got some wine. I think we can make enough for all of us. But maybe not. So, again, thank you guys. Can we give another applause for all the black women speakers who came out tonight? I want to thank you guys for making them feel welcome, creating a safe space for black women. There were complications, and that's like our lives, complications. And we especially thank you for helping us make it through. I feel right now, we're going to make it through. I know there's one of Tanya songs or something. We're going to make this through, okay? And it's not going to take very long. So, again, I'm Miss Jessie. I'm with the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage. My daughter and I are director, co-director. We today, with the help of a lot of other people, was for black women to have a voice to be heard on this stage. And I think that they were heard today. You think they were heard? And you know, black women, what we're known for, really, we love. We love you, no matter what. We're going to take care of you. But at the same time, we need at times for someone to take care of us. I want, you know, I'm a smiley person. You see I'm smiling, I'm looking at everybody. And I had to think about that earlier when I thought about that, because that's the face that I've been taught to give you. That I've been trained to give you this face to make you happy and such. But you wouldn't know the pain that I've gone through looking at this face. And that's what black women are great at. But let you know, there's much pain behind that, but we will not let you see it. But understand, support us, we need it. You'll never see us, you know, sweat. But that's the strength that we have. I want to go back and let you know the real, it's not even forgetting, it's part of that PTSD that happens to us living in this kind of life. The reason why I started the foundation was because I work in the music business, you guys. I collect royalties for musicians and entertainers. That's what I do. But I believe musicians are the prophets. Okay, I believe that's how the story is being told and how we change things. Music is that social justice tool. And so, you know, prophets are still here. They might be a rapper, okay? So just know, listen to him. Make sure you listen to the right guy. But my artist, I teach how to navigate the system. Because you can't make it through the system. I thought you could do it. I've been successfully made it through a couple of times. And I was trying to teach him how to navigate the system as well. And I found out quite abruptly that it does not work the same. You know, I got that smile, I can kind of spin it, but not always for black men. It doesn't always work. The judge is like, no, you're a black guy. So even though we won, what happened to, he was shot in the back by the LAPD 3 times for having a phone in his hand, walking down the street, because a neighbor said something that wasn't true. And with that, after that situation happened, the police came and started trying to take my family away from me because I knew the truth. So that's what the real thing that happens out there. And I'm like, hold on, I'm Miss Jessie, hold the heck on. I know you're not trying to take mine. It's for me, and they did. And for me, the start of the foundation was, if they can do it to me, they can do it to you. I'm a smart cookie. I know how to run the gamut. But if they're doing it to me, oh no, I know they're doing it to you. So with that, I'm here today. My daughter's here. For those people who live here, who are organizing, she's gonna be here. I'm going back to LA, but I'm gonna come back and forth. Tickets is real cheap right now, okay? And I get 2 seats. But we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you do what you guys need to do to give us the life. I do feel like there's change coming. I know what's happening in my life because God whispers. I think He's whispering to y'all too. But with that, thank you guys for coming to the event. You guys thank it. And again, make sure before you leave that you get the scan, that you fill out so you can fill out the survey. Survey's very important. I will go talk to the mayor, and I will go talk to the governor. And I know like the Surgeon General and all those. I know everybody, you guys. So I need you. I'm gonna give you that segue to get the things that you need. But I need to know what you need, and I'm not gonna say what I need. I need to say what you guys need, and how you feel about pushing it and actually organize you guys. It's gonna take a year or 2 to get things. It's not gonna happen overnight. But we have to be organized. And if anyone has told you, or the media, the fake news out there, we organizing over here, okay? So with that, we need your donation, we need your conversation, and we need you to fill out that survey so I can take it to the powers that be and tell them, you know, we are participating in the process and we want what we want, and you're gonna give it to us now. With a smile on my face.
And before we take it to the powers that be, we're going to keep that within these black leaders and organizers in this space. So we're going to utilize the information that you give to us in the survey to organize ourselves. Okay, before we take it to the white folks, the powers that be, we're going to use it to organize ourselves. We need to know what your capacity is, what your skills are, what you want to bring to the table. I've had more people in the last 2 days, young black people, come to me saying, I want to organize. I've been trying to figure out what the best way to do it is. In the past 2 days, and the entire 14 days we've been out here, there is not just one leader in the space, there's not just one leader in this area, this region. There are many of us out here, and there's a role for every single one of us out here, and that's what brought us here today. It's important that we organize as a people so we can push this movement forward, just like my mom said. And I want to remind you too, our first 3 demands. There's a lot of demands out there, y'all. So we got to remember, this is a long game. So the first demand is defund the police. Defund the police. Second demand is that's right. Y'all in the back, I don't hear you. So it's to invest that money into communities of color specifically. And our third demand, release all the protesters. Release all the protesters. Absolutely. And there are more demands that are out there, lengthy lists of demands from organizations like Africa Town. There's a collective black voice for this space that I have not been involved in yet, but the demands are spot on. So this is just the beginning. We got to prepare for the end game. Filling out that survey is one of the ways that we can organize strategically. Come speak to me, Kaya, my mom. We're going to be here for a while. After we close up here, we're going to put on a little bit of music, and then we're going to get ready for the People's Assembly, which is something that happens here normally every day at 3 p.m. They're going to start right after this. We'll break out into groups. Xavier is going to be the lead on that, but we will be around too to support as well. So please do stick around if you are willing and able. Maybe go get some snacks while the music is on and bring your way back, make your way back over here.
Thank you. I'm going to hand it to them, but I'm going to say thank you guys.
Sorry about those sounds. Give it up for everybody that came on stage today. Everybody's amazing.
think this is finished. This part is
It's
finished.
amazing. It's a big turnout. If you
No,
want
I'm
to
telling
share
you.
with me
Like, I think they're talking about playing music.
Probably the best
When they start playing music, shut it down and come back.
Well, if you can talk to us right now after you're there. So
All right.
Instagram, you're gonna find her at Just Call Me Nas, and you can find me at Kaya Kiya Mac 206. If you have any questions about events, Feature Black is beautiful events, anything like that, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, everybody. Give it up for yourself. Thank you so much.
If you guys aren't enjoying the graffiti, don't worry. We are going to go back through the community garden that was set up in a matter of days. So you guys can see something truly beautiful. The garden that's meant to feed the people who need it.
They're kind of chaz.
Would have taken the stairs, but there's a medical emergency on the stairs, so we took a shortcut. There's a bunch of peaceful protesters just sitting, talking, communicating about what's going on in the world. Oh, the band's playing again. Actually, a lot of the local businesses are donating their food to the people here, so a lot of the businesses around here in the community are supporting this. A lot of the people here are people who live in this community who support this. There's again one of the free clothing areas, free water and charging. have a medical tent, more food over there. I'm going to show off the artwork again one more time, the community garden, and then I'm going to have to end the live feed. So I have to head back to the car. Okay, what we're... Oh, look at that cutie. So many cute dogs. Okay, we're heading to the community garden right now. This is what's in front of us. All the plants, the soil, the fencing, everything was donated. All the time, the effort, everything has been donated by the people, the community, and the locals of Seattle. Honestly, not much different happens at night, except for the cops come out and they start tear gassing for no reason, because I watch the live feeds at night and it's the same thing. People are just peacefully protesting and they're getting tear gassed for no reason and maced for no reason. They have free face masks and water here. Everything's free. Give back to the people.
So that we can get 3 out of 2, or even more. You guys have matching
Over here, there's like a little doggy park. There's a bunch of dogs running around and playing together.
Oh, they've been on that. I don't mean on the bird.
See? Like these two cuties. It's such a peaceful and happy place. Honestly, the people want it to last forever. I know realistically that might not happen, but I know we're definitely trying to keep this a thing for as long as we can. Okay. Well, it took us like 15 minutes to walk here, so let's walk up this way because we came from this way. I think it's the start of something beautiful. Graffiti can be cleaned up. People's lives cannot be recovered. So you should think about that. Yeah, I just want to walk by this. We still have to go down that way anyways. So. It really is. I've seen nothing but peaceful people. There was one like drunk guy who was very quickly de-escalated. They told people to back off. They had somebody calmly talk to him and calm him down. It's been super, super peaceful. Even at night, the live streams I've seen, it's been really peaceful since the cops have been gone. So. Says Black Trans Lives Matter.
Yeah, where you at?
that is most of Chaz right now, but I know the people are trying to expand. I'm pretty sure this is more plants being donated to the garden and possibly even a greenhouse. Oh my god, that looks huge. So I mean, obviously this community supports it, so if you don't live here, your opinions really don't matter, because the companies around here are supporting it. And then pretty much as soon as you go right outside of it, most of the businesses are open as normal. Right across the street, there's an open business, open restaurant. It's really not affecting the people around here in the small area that it's in.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
See, all these businesses are open, and this is literally just right down the street from it. So, yep, I really encourage anyone who lives close to the area to stop by if you can and see for yourself, because it was really something beautiful to experience, and I would love to be able to come down and hopefully see it again. So.
love that sign. It says, "This is what democracy looks like." Amen.
Like, see that? Those lights down there? That's right. That's really close to where we're going to turn. Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
For anybody just tuning in, this is a march in conjunction with the Rowlett Police Department. Chief Godfrey's here actually marching. Many of the other officers are working overtime. They blocked off some of the streets and stuff so the march could happen peacefully. And Chief Godfrey's up somewhere up at the front. There's also Constable Bill Gibson, Dallas County Constable. Yes, thank you, whoever mentioned it. The mayor's also here. There's a couple council members here. Pastors. Pastor Case and Huddleston's here. And we're now back at PGBT in Lakeview. So as soon as the tail end of this group gets around the corner, I imagine they'll start opening 66 back up. And 7:30, still time to catch dinner. And Stefan did say there would be some kind of special surprise when we get back to Garland High. Rowlett High, goodness sakes. Must be dehydrated. So I'll try to film that if I can get up to the front of the group and get to the front again. see some comments about the police being a part of this. They were. This was arranged well in advance, about a week in advance. Stefan's been planning this, I think, for maybe almost 3 weeks. And he contacted Chief Godfrey pretty much from day one and started talking about what this looks like, how it would work, all that kind of stuff. So RPD made the decision that, as opposed to trying to be difficult with the situation, embrace it and be a part of it. Be part of the solution. So I'm really proud of Chief Godfrey. I really appreciated the words he gave at the beginning. That's in my previous video. Yeah, thank you, RPD, Garland PD, Wiley PD, Rockwall PD. They're all on scene here, making sure everything is safe and everybody's safe. Rowlett CERT was here, making sure everybody has everything they need for water and medical care. Just one of the many reasons I love Rowlett.
That means we did like 8, right? What do you see? I thought we were going all the way.
This is Sharon. Taylor, she's on. Stay in the car, I'm telling you.
I know who you are.
Problem? Feet burning, huh? Nike.
Okay, what kind of gun? I still got one. Alright. And if they put a gun, you spend $200 on shooting and still hit.
Sketches. All day long. They won't hurt you.
Y'all are very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Brother, Texas, man.
Chill, cut that out.
sadly represent the 4 children that will never see their father again. We just literally landed a few days ago from the funeral of George Floyd, where we represent his youngest daughter, Gianna. Days before that, we were here fighting the Ahmaud Arbery case, where we're Georgia counsel. And then I could go on and on about DeAndre Phillips, another murder down here, which involved APD, which still hasn't been decided or resolved yet. I could talk about Desmond Marrow, which still has not been resolved here in Georgia. I could go on to Alton Sterling, which we also represent, which years later still has not been resolved. And all of the other cases. And what it boils down to, black, white, Hispanic, whatever you are you not tired of seeing cases like this happen? We see from the protesters, we see from the people in the streets of all races now that people are sick of watching black men murdered. And before we even get into what happened last night, the one thing that nobody can disagree with is that it shouldn't have happened. But it did because the value of African-American males' lives in the inner city or wherever doesn't mean too much to officers nowadays. And it's sad. Because we look at things not just for the emotional effect of how horrible it is, but legally. In Georgia, a taser is not a deadly weapon. That's the law. That's what the cops are trained to do. It's not a deadly weapon. I've had cases where officers have used tasers on victims and they argue with us in court that tasers aren't deadly, that tasers aren't harmful. That's the case law here, that tasers are not deadly weapons. So before we even hear from their lawyers, who are going to say the same old thing they always say, you cannot have it both ways. You can't say he ran off with a weapon that could kill somebody when you say it's not deadly. You can't say you don't have other options. Where was he going to go? He was barely jogging away. You could have boxed him in. Support came in, I think, 2 minutes. He would have been boxed in and trapped. Why did you have to kill him? Was the officer embarrassed that he got his taser taken? Well, let your pride linger. Don't pull your gun quickly. Was he upset that he lost a little scuffle and out of spite he shot? We don't know yet. But the one thing we do know is that he had other options than shooting a man in the back. And we don't want to hear anything about, oh, he even pointed it backwards, because it's not a deadly weapon according to police officers and case law. He wasn't close enough to harm you with it. You could have run him down, but instead he got bullets in the back. A man that earlier that day was celebrating his daughter's 8th birthday at the arcade, who has 3 little girls who are 8, 2, and 1, and a stepson, 13, who we sit with today and watch them play and laugh and be oblivious to the fact that their dad was murdered on camera. A scene that we keep repeating as we watch Gianna Floyd play in Houston, oblivious to that her dad was knelt on and murdered. How many more examples will we need? The cameras aren't doing it. Y'all filming it isn't doing it. Covering it isn't doing it. People protesting isn't doing it. What is it going to take? How many more examples are we going to get? I actually thought that we were going to get over all this. I thought this was finally going to start ending with all these changes. We saw the police chief resign today. We don't have the exact reasons why, but I can theorize that maybe it's because she even realized, what more can I do training-wise? They know they shouldn't have done that. Do we need to start over and rehire all the officers to retrain them? What other options do we have? The problem is that they've been given leeway to use lethal force for all too often and too long. And this is what we're left with. And as we are just getting this case, the details are just getting more horrific because there were multiple witnesses out there. We talked to some witnesses today who said that the officers went and put on plastic gloves and picked up their shell casings after they killed him, before rendering aid. We counted 2 minutes and 16 seconds before they even checked his pulse. And people wonder why everyone's bad. Just watch the video as he lays there dying. The officers stand around. One kicks him and flips him over. And then the witnesses tell us that, which we can't see on camera, but they filmed it. They went and picked up the shell casings. I wonder why. So that all of you can't know how far away he was when they shot? So that you can't find their positions when they use that weapon? But they appear to be caring more about covering their tracks than providing aid. Aid that could have saved his life if allegedly he was taken to the hospital and died in surgery, but they didn't give that to him. So we agree with the mayor saying that the officer that fired the officer that fired his weapon should be terminated, and he should also be prosecuted. The family met with Paul Howard, and they've opened their investigation, and I can even say we want justice, but I don't even care anymore. I don't even know what that is. And I've been doing this for 15 years. I don't know what justice is anymore. Is it getting them arrested? Is it getting somebody fired? Is it a chief stepping down? I know that this isn't justice, what's happening in society right now. You know, it's just not much more we can say or do as a society. So people that are refusing change and not understanding why the time is now for complete systematic change, take a look. And then compare it to all the videos online where it was a white individual that had a deadly weapon that wasn't killed, which we've also been looking at today, trying to understand why didn't they get shot? And why did Rashard have to when he's running? And that answer I don't have yet. Other than that, it's just tiring. And I'm sure everybody's tired of seeing it. You know, we're so concerned about trying to find a vaccine for the coronavirus. The world is pitching in. We're pitching in millions and millions and millions of dollars. Scientists from around the world are trying to help find a vaccine, but nobody's trying to find a vaccine for civil rights abuses. It's something that we're told to wait for. It'll come. Nobody's trying to find a vaccine for why officers pulled the trigger so quick on African Americans. There's no flood of money or scientists or the top experts or our leadership in this country trying to end that epidemic. But I guess that is because it doesn't hit close to home to the people that care. So once again, and I'll say it as the millionth time as y'all seen me fight in one of these cases, we'll fight for justice. We'll try and get the cop arrested or whatever it may be. Sue the city and see if they'll settle. I don't know. But we're just tired. And if you don't understand that, because you may be a different color, you may be a different gender, you may not be from Georgia, then you may be the problem.
I think the word that encapsulates everything that Chris just said to you is empathy. This is all that all of these families are asking for and that we're asking for as representatives of these families. Just a little empathy. If this officer today had been a little more empathetic and a bit less scared, then we probably wouldn't have a dead client. We wouldn't be here talking to you like we are right now. there are a lot of things, systemic things wrong with policing in this country. And I think that over the past few weeks, we've talked about a lot of them. You've seen a lot of them on tape. And like Chris said, we're tired. I mean, we will keep doing this as long as there's a need, but we don't want there to be a need to do this anymore. The first failing that I saw when I saw this tape was training. Because just as Chris said, if a taser isn't a deadly weapon, then it's not a deadly weapon when I have it. It's not a deadly weapon when an officer has it. It's not a deadly weapon when anyone else has it. When our client has the taser, they're going to say it's a deadly weapon, and it's not. There were 2 officers, and 1 of him, and their training failed them. That's number 1. Number 2, leadership failed them. And I don't want to see anyone lose their job, but maybe the police chief needed to resign because whatever they're doing from the top, it's not reaching the bottom. And if they are doing it correctly from the top, and that's what they're trying to get across to their officers, then it's not working and it needs to change immediately. Because this can't happen again. Policing in this country, in this city, needs to change to something more empathetic, something more community-based. Police are necessary, but the way that they are policing our communities is wrong. It's causing death, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. Obviously, you see that the people are not going to stand for it anymore. I think a lot of things and a lot of these minor changes are happening because people are scared, and they're scared for their things. They're scared for a building or a store. They're scared for a restaurant. But the lives of these people, of our people, of Americans, of black people, of human beings, in my opinion, are more important than any store or restaurant that is in Buckhead or Bankhead or anywhere else. That's number 2. And the third thing I would say is fear. Listen, I don't know those 2 officers personally, right? But just from watching the tape, I could tell that they were scared. And it's understandable. That is a hard profession, policing. But if you have fear, you don't need to be a police officer. If you do not understand the community that you're policing in, you do not need to be a police officer. If you are not comfortable with black people, white people, brown, yellow, whatever people, you don't need to be a police officer. A police officer is as much of a counselor as they are anything else. And I believe that if we go back to the leadership and the training that I spoke of earlier, you'll see that these officers aren't taught that. They're taught to crack heads. And when they can't crack heads, they're taught to shoot. And that's resulting in death. And we can't have that anymore. And we won't have that anymore. So I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. And frankly, I want everyone watching and everybody here, to understand we're not asking for protesters not to go out and protest. We need to keep pushing. We need to let everyone know that this is unacceptable and we're not going to just move on to the next tragedy. This probably won't be the last tragedy, and that's a sad thing. We're going to treat every single one like it shouldn't have happened. We're going to go as hard as we can for this one, like we're going for George Floyd and his daughter, and like we're going for Ahmaud Arbery and his mother, and like we're going for Alton Sterling and every other single case and single person that should be here today that's not here with us. Because at the end of the day, and this is what we get back to. I mean, if you look around and you see our firm, we are white, black, Asian, brown, yellow, green, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all people. And so if we can see that, we don't understand why the police can't see that. And there are some people who have now opened their eyes and woken up and they see that, and we think that's great. But we want you to put pressure on the police, put pressure on the mayor, put pressure on your governors, put pressure on everyone to let them know you will not take this anymore. You're going to stand up. and this is not just black people, because we've been dealing with this our entire lives. This is for everyone else who hasn't been dealing with this, who's dealing with it now. Stand up with us, push with us, fight with us. When you see us in Minnesota, fight with us. And when you see us here in Atlanta and in Brunswick, fight with us, because our fight is your fight. This is the United States of America. We're coming up on July 4th, and this is going to be a very weird July 4th for a lot of people, very different, because people are coming to the realization that America doesn't mean America for all Americans, and that's a problem. So keep pushing, fight with us, and hopefully we'll get some change, and this will be the last time we have to have a press conference about a dead black man killed by the police for no reason. Thank you.
Another thing, that some of the witnesses said is they didn't do a sobriety test. There was no count to 100 or whatever it is and walk this line. They said that they were just talking, and it seemed to be a decent conversation. And then all of a sudden, one of the officers grabbed him and told him he's under arrest. So this started from nothing. This wasn't a bank robbery in progress or anything violent. They just told him he was under arrest. And now I see that they're reporting, oh, it was a suspected DUI, or he fell asleep blocking the line. He wasn't blocking the line. And they didn't even do a sobriety test from what the witnesses right there said. So why was he even under arrest? Want to know how this could have been avoided and all of the protests that are going to happen and all this? Talk to him. Talk. Hey, buddy, you fell asleep in line. You okay? Why don't you pull your car over there and call an Uber? And then you walk over and you leave. Why is that so hard for police officers? A conversation. He wasn't doing anything crazy or violent or harming anyone. Hey, buddy, I think you've had something to drink. Maybe, but I guess they didn't feel like doing a sobriety test. Pull over there, call an Uber. I guarantee you that happens hundreds of times a night in college towns with young white kids or other places in America. But we don't get that benefit of the doubt. So not only do officers like that destroy the image of policing, which I have always held in a high standard, even though I'm always going against the officers, but y'all are even starting to break me. And most of y'all know that I'll get up there and I say I have respect for officers and, policing, but Jesus, y'all, like even I'm starting to lose hope. And that's hard. But y'all got any questions? It's not much.
Chris, the resignation of the police chief, how does that sit with the team? Is that a step in the right direction?
I don't care.
So, Chris, earlier today, GBI released a video, the surveillance video from Wendy's, and one of the things they pointed out was what you mentioned, the taser in Mr. Brooks' hand, him reaching back and pointing. Why do you think GBI released that video, and can you go into more detail why you think that a taser isn't a deadly weapon?
I think they were just releasing the full surveillance video of, the parking lot. I'm sure there's more video. Like I said, witnesses have video of some of these horrific actions. In that video that GBI released, you also can sit there and count how long they let that body lay on the ground before touching him or even trying to assist him. So, the video is helpful for us. It's also helpful to show that they were far apart when he's running and pointing backwards. But the case law in Georgia, a taser's not a deadly weapon. So they can't say it's not like he was running off with a gun. It's not a deadly weapon. I lose cases against officers who use it on my clients because it's not a deadly weapon. And I'm saying that, they shouldn't have done it. But you just can't have it both ways in this. If it's not a deadly weapon, his life was not in immediate harm when he fired that shot. It just was not. It wasn't. And I watched one of the most conservative police chiefs commentating today, and even he said that there were other options he could have done, and that a taser isn't a deadly weapon. Ask Taser, is a taser a deadly weapon? I promise you they're going to say no.
Chris, what you said, the more you find out, the worse it gets. What are some examples of that?
Well, there's just so many witnesses that saw it. You know, we didn't know that they picked up their shell casings before GBI got there to investigate the scene, before, I don't know.
I'm sorry, Chris, I haven't seen the video. Is there concrete audio of any of the conversations between law enforcement and Mr. Brooks?
We haven't gotten all of the audio yet. I think the district attorney's office is also talking to all these witnesses, so.
So he did run, Mr. Brooks. Can you speak to why that might have been, or the reason behind it, if you possibly know?
Yeah, there could be 1,000 reasons for someone running from the police, right? So just imagine that if you're sleeping in your car because you're trying to drink something off and you get officers knocking on your window hard, right? The current climate of police officer and black male interaction is not the best, right? So that might scare you at that time of night. So yes, you stand up and you're talking to them and then they're telling you they want you to do something. That might not be what you want to do at that time. And so yes, he tried to get away. That's what it looked like. We don't know because we can't talk to him, right? But it looked like he tried to get away, and they would not let him get away. They were hell-bent on stopping him, and they stopped him, right? So yes, getting away from a situation that could be detrimental to you also turned into another situation that was detrimental to you. It's a no-win situation. You can't get out of it. And so that's probably what happened, but like I said, we can't speak to it.
And I always try and look at, from these situations,
Let this movement continue, the speaker says.
to look at how, was it justified for the officer? Because I don't ever want to look at something just totally unfairly. There's just no excuse in this one. If they had maybe shot while the tussle was going on and, you know, they said, oh, he reached for my gun, and, you know, that's normally how these happen. They're rolling around on the ground or there's a fight for the gun and then they shoot right then. That's not what happened. If this would have happened while they were all rolling on the ground and you hear someone say gun and he's reaching for my gun, okay, maybe. That didn't happen. They didn't feel like their life was in danger while they were tussling on the ground or rolling around and grabbing things. No, they waited until he ran off. So their justification went out the door after they let him run.
We also got to check on the emotional state of these officers. I mean, because it gets personal, you know, and this is a thing when you're in the field, and we understand this, that it is a personal thing. It gets personal to them. But as the professional in the situation, they have to divorce themselves from that emotional aspect of that job. Because if you don't, someone can die, like we saw today, or like we saw with that officer in George Floyd. It can get personal. We understand there's combat. There are big guys wrestling and fighting. But at a certain point, the professional in you has to come out, and you have to calm down and be the professional and show that you have training, which hasn't happened and definitely didn't happen last
in
time.
diversity. What I love about this whole march, I don't just see black people. I just don't see Mexicans or Hispanics.
Father,
I don't just see
working at a tortilla place, actually. Family loved him to death. We had more family members at that house today than I could count.
So we have to work.
Ton of brothers and sisters that love him more than life.
I literally came out here with my colleague who was a non-sworn member.
He was supposed to take his daughter skating
very diverse.
For her birthday.
White, male,
It's just,
female,
and I'm sick of
it doesn't matter.
sitting in somebody's house and their little kid is playing with us,
Again, not just talking the walk, walking
and we're
the walk.
sitting there trying to laugh with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or an 8-year-old, knowing, you know, that they'll never see their dad again. Man, I'm literally sick of it.
She had on, when we were there today, she had her birthday dress on because she was waiting for her dad to come pick her up to take her to go skating. Yesterday, her and her dad went. She got her nails done and her toes done. They got something to eat. And today she was waiting on that. So while we were over there, they had a birthday party for her. You know, today there was a birthday. Yeah, 8th birthday today with cupcakes. While we were sitting there talking to her mom about why her dad's not coming. That's the part of it that we see every day that everybody doesn't see, and that's the part that just it hits you right here. It's terrible.
Again, I don't just walk. Okay. So write this down. I want.
That's what this is.
Don't
20
all
years.
this doesn't do anything. We want action. So, well, I need you to email.
I mean, that's literally the case that popped in my mind the whole time I was sitting there today, and Justin and I talked about it. It's just like Walter Scott. You know, people forgot about that case because it's been so long and it was so horrific. They said the same thing. Oh, he took my taser, and I shot him while we were wrestling for the taser. And then once we got our hands on the video, we saw that he shot him in the back, 30 yards away. And in that case, they tried the whole taser, could have killed me with the taser argument, and it didn't work. So it literally brings back memories of Walter Scott, even watching him get shot in the back, just like Walter Scott. And then it was really horrible hearing the witnesses say that they were picking up shell casings or tampering with the scene, whatever they were doing, because that happened in Walter Scott. The officer went and threw the taser close to the dead body. So it's just horrible to be reliving the Walter Scott case again.
And one thing we want to make sure people know, we don't think this is, these are one-offs. We know they're not. We're seeing them more and more, and that's not because society is getting worse, just because technology is getting better, right? There are more cameras everywhere, so we're seeing more of this stuff. But it's the same stuff. It's been happening. The difference is you can't lie in your report because there's a camera that's going to get you, right? You can't make up some story because there's a camera that's going to get you. You can't throw a taser close to somebody because there's a camera that's going to come get you. We saw today what happened last night. We saw it. And while Mr. Brooks was not perfect, he could have done a couple things too. And we're not saying he couldn't have. But the officer had the last best chance to stop that from happening. He had the most training to stop that from happening. And he didn't do that, and that resulted in our client's death.
As far as what she said, if they really do...
She said, you don't have to stand back here with us white folks. You can go up front. I said, ma'am, my mama's white. I've been standing with white folks for 50 years, 53 years. And if you'll stand with me, I'll stand with you. That's how we stand together. So anyway, I'm crazy as hell. And I'm tired. But I had to come back today because when I left here, to hear a 16-year-old say what she said fucked with me all night long. Crazy thing about it, when I was 16 and the police kicked my ass, it was normal. It was normal. You just got your ass whooped by the police. You didn't run fast enough. Anyway, my son is fine. He's an inspector for Bowling. It derailed him 2 years. He went to be a dental assistant for 2 years and his daddy ain't got no teeth, but okay. But it took me 2 years to get him to put in the application because what he would say was, his dad, those white people ain't gonna hire me. And then finally one day he called me and said, okay, Dad, I put in the application. 2 weeks later, he was in orientation. Been there ever since. What that boy did to my son, it derailed him 2 years. But he's a better man. You see, because my son did what every father wants, just do better than me. He's done that. So, We need to get the union contract. We need to get the police to take that out of their hands. So when an officer is fired, he's fired. You know, police can go to another state and work. If one of us does something discriminate on our job, it will go on our application. It needs to go on their application. Why should they be different? I don't know when they're coming to take their streets back, but eventually they're coming. And that's it. Actually, people think they ran them out of that precinct. No. The police chief said you can't use your tear gas and your stun grenades for 30 days. So maybe we got 30 days. But if she lifts that ban today, he'll be here in an hour or so. You know, the looting and the burning of the buildings, I get confused about that. I'm against taking people's shit. Don't like to play with fire, but it was necessary because it got their attention. And now that we have their attention, we have to keep their attention. We have to make sure they take us serious. We need to march. Like I said, we need to take this march to the union office. They close this weekend, but they'll be open on Monday. Maybe we should be allowed to vote for a police chief. Because we have those phones that we can research them. Maybe we should be allowed to vote for the police chief. Your taxes pay your salary, why not? Don't you want to know where your money's spent? Is the money being spent on somebody good or somebody bad? And don't get me wrong, I ain't saying nothing against the police chief here. You have to understand that she has 2 strikes against her. She's a woman and she's black. It's not an easy job for her. But believe me, there's people that are telling her, you need to get that shit up there on Capitol Hill straightened out. She ain't sleeping either. Our mayor, I appreciate what she told Donald Trump. Won't you crawl back down in your bunker? Fuck who? Fuck who? Fuck Trump. Fuck who? Fuck Trump. In his ass. Anyway, I'm tired. I've had 2 hours of sleep. I'm getting ready to go home. I guess I'm gonna go to my... Does Antifa live in huts, caves? What do I call it? Who? Yurt. What the fuck is a yurt?
It's like a circular tent with a hole in the top.
Oh, it's a bougie tent?
Basically.
My tent is in storage until camping time.
Camping time, baby.
All right, y'all. Be cool. Appreciate you guys being out here taking the time to obtain this knowledge. We're not done yet. So let me introduce you to Miss Jessie. She's got some words of wisdom that we would also like to hear as well. So let's give a welcome to Miss Jessie.
How long you guys been out here sitting down?
Long enough.
Now, did you stretch a little?
Woo!
Just stretch. Okay, well, my name is Miss Jessie. I am the executive director of the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage. Thank you. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. It's my daughter, raised in Seattle, Washington. accolades. I'm gonna do the accolades real quick. But it's always icky just having to, tell who about I got some accolades. I am proud of them, but they old. I'm gonna be honest, they're old, so I appreciate you guys bringing me out, but I'm a little rusty. So with that, let's see. Besides that, name like this, I do music, something like that. I do music. So I started a record label in 1999 called Felony Entertainment. I started that record label because I had spent 2 years in prison under the mandatory minimum guidelines of sentencing, even though I had no prior convictions for drug sentencing. Power to the people. And with that, moving the bottom to the top, basically, 2000 to 2009, I became a political activist using music to organize people like you to make social change. So I went from prison to working for George Russell of the Russell Investment Firm. You guys familiar with the Russell Investment Firm? The billionaires that got the building down here. Well, George sold that pension company for $2 billion and invested into a family foundation. And they have a thing called James Fellowship that recognizes grassroots leaders. And they recognized me for my work in organizing people. Hello. So what I would do back in the days when I was doing my thing, I would go to hip-hop. Well, I throw hip-hop shows. I would do my shows, and people like you, I would get your information and organize you and make sure you would vote. So right now I'm going to do one of the old school things that I used to do. And I'm going to tell you that for this situation right here, my daughter has asked me to come and put some of those skills together so that this is not for naught. You get hearing all the stories, but like we never know when this is over. And we need your bodies, we need your voices, we need your skills for more than just sitting here and listening to us talk to tell you what to do per se. It's more like organizing in the systematic way that really does work if you work it. Kind of like some of the things they say in 12 steps. It works if you work it. But not a lot of people have been participating in the process. And with that, some people have forgotten it. I don't even know if they teach you guys how to participate in the process anymore. But with that, that's what my part is going to be. Is to remind you that we can make change. I know because I've done it. So, with that, from 2000 to 2009, I was the vice chair of the board and the chair of the board for one of the largest nonprofits here working to eliminate poverty. With that, I worked on predatory lending. I worked on mandatory minimum wage here in Seattle. I didn't even know that. That thing's like $18, $15 an hour. I think that's pretty good. I work for myself, so it doesn't matter. But it sounds pretty good if I guess I was working for somebody. Yeah. Real freedom is being a business owner, y'all. Okay? But what I'm most proud of, because remember I said I started off with a record label called Felony Entertainment, right? In 2009, I helped restore felon voting rights here in Washington State via House Bill 1517. And so my name is on the bottom of that bill. It says Jesse Miller. And that year we brought between quarter of a million to 500,000 voters their rights back. Well, people, their rights to vote. Felons, people, their rights to vote. People were paying taxes, still working, doing what they're supposed to, pay the time for their crime. Their rights back to vote. And then the next year, I think I used that to legalize cannabis. Woo! That's strategy, baby. Okay, I know what I'm doing here. Okay, I know what I'm doing here. Okay, and then I believe, was the first felon to run for office in 2010 for state representative against Steve Kirby, the 29th legislature. I didn't want the job. It only pays $30,000 a year, and I was making $60 already. No. I did want to show them that don't get comfortable in your position, because I can come for you anytime, or I can have a friend of mine come for you. So with that, I'm not sure. I think I saw it still in place, but I think that lockdown came back in place. But I'm just saying all these accolades to say the reason why I'm here today is to help you guys get solutions. We can talk about it till we're red in the neck. We've been doing this for a long time. I want you to go to, so the foundation is Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage, long word, but just the initials, HTFFSSP. Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage.com, and there's a survey there. And you can do it on your phone while we're here talking. I would really appreciate that you guys at least glue it, bookmark it, and fill that out. That's going to give us the data that we need to make this movement work, to really organize it, to make it more than just sitting here listening to people talk and rehashing things that we already know, that we see every time we turn on television or we put on our phone. We can talk about it, but what are we going to do about it? We're going to organize today. So go to the website, you'll find the survey. You just click on the link and you can fill that out. It's going to give me the information that I need. You don't have to give everything. It's not going to stop you if you don't want to. You're going to be anonymous or whatever. Just be fair and true and put your info down on what you'd like to do, what you'd like to see, what the reality is. You're a voter, you're not a voter, you know? What do you think is a solution? What do you think is the problem? Well, we know that the problem is Black lives are being lost at the hands of police officers. A lot of Black lives are being ours, but ours are being done callously with malice, with no forgot, like we were not worth anything. And the fact is that we're priceless, just like every one of you else is priceless. And I appreciate, like the gentleman who said before, that you guys saw. You really saw, finally, nothing you didn't see before, but by the forces that you guys have come out, you see. And I know why you see, because you see like me. I'm a 70s baby. I came when We Are the World. You know what I'm saying? We was holding on. There's a time when my friends is white, black, green, orange. We was all colors. And for it to be 2020, and my mother's white and my father's black too. Okay? So I'm raised up in the land here. This is Seattle. Come on now. I've never seen so much weird kind of racism ever in my life. And how did it go from where we were all there until where we're here? It's not really here. It's what they want to push us and want us to make to believe by the media. by the push of what the content that they want us to receive. But I see in real life, and I saw on the streets last night, on the streets out here in Seattle, and I've seen it in the media, even I don't watch it because I choose to create the life that I live. And I have to turn that off so I can really see the life that I want to live. And it's with people like you who can be out here because you know that there's something bigger going on right now. It's nothing what the media says. This is real love in action. That's right. The thing about being biracial, I get to pull my Obama card. You know, when my mama white, my dad black, so anything I say, you can't even really say that because I ain't racist. You can't say that. And sometimes I am racist. Ouch. I have to check myself. What? Yes, I am. Eat my own people. How is that possible when I'm not even what? Did I just clench my purse and shut my door? Oh my God. How did that happen? I'm gonna make sure I keep that television off. Because I know the real deal. I know who's really taking care of me when I was in a situation or whatever, who really didn't have my back. White, black, orange, green, whatever. Humans. Humans. So with that, I don't know, you know, I just came on the scene and I don't know what the conversation has been here, but I want to know that you are important to this movement, each and every single one of you. The skills that you have make the movement stronger. Just on the way down here, because we were speaking, we had a black woman's speakers this afternoon from up here on the corner, and just in the conversation on down here, very informative things. Just a lot of work for us black folks to do, period, for ourselves. We have issues, like everybody else got issues, white, black, and whatever, all the different people, everybody got their own issues, you know? So we gotta separate that, you know? But as human beings, we can't keep letting anyone be murdered by the police and let it be cool. So, what I do know, because I live in Los Angeles now, my daughter lives here, what I do know, what I've heard over again, yes, defund the police, and the people that are asking to defund the police. Not even going to have me help me right now. Defund the police. Bring the money back to the community. And free the protesters. I think the freeing the protesters should have been already done. That should have been done. That's a quick, easy. No. Just take it so long. Okay. So, no, not that. What about the freeing the protesters? I'm seeing how many hundreds is in here. Like that should be like an email or a text. Text on Monday. Those are those things like free the protester and stuff. We'll figure something out and put it on the website. But this is enough people to make people nervous. You know what's so great about what's right now? It is elections coming up. Oh my God! This is an organizer's dream. This is my dream. And oh my gosh! You know the power that you have in your hands right now? Well, it says in this city we believe. And I believe in you guys. And with that, that's where I came today. You gotta let know, I believe that you guys can do it. And if there's anyone not, they say, I hope for you. I've done this. I've done it. It's easy for me. Okay, I could have stayed home and whatever, but heck no, because I don't need you to have no problems, because I like to get there with you. It's great. My father is almost 90 years old. My uncle is 92. You know? To have us work on really cleaning out the garbage, starting off with a new slate. Come on, if we talk about things, that's how you fix things. You ever have that therapy? Keep on hiding stuff and it just gets bigger and bigger. You know, let's take out the dirty laundry, talk about it. Yeah, we did it, move out, what, learn from the mistake. We're not gonna do it again. But if we do, just talk about it, we're gonna do better, better, better. So today we're gonna do better, okay? Let's do better. Every day. If someone's not having a good day, understand they're just not having a good day. And still love them through it and know tomorrow.
I'm done hard. Get some more into space, and then the audience not going to be able to fix it. Oh crap, 15 seconds.
For a hit?
Yeah.
It's 9:30. Yes, we've actually moved from up where we were by the interstate. And if you look down here, you can see there are still a lot of protesters on this street here. We're off the interstate, 75 interstate exit University Avenue, near where that shooting happened. And you can see now protesters are moving back. Yeah, what we showed here was the protesters that were actually on the interstate. We saw police on one side and then the protesters on the other side. We'll of course keep you updated as the night goes on. Brittany.
Oh, jeez. I thought we had like 4 minutes.